Okay, so lower of cost or market. So we are valuing, Fielder Company has the practice of valuing its inventory at the lower of cost or market. The following information is available from the company's inventory records. Okay, so when we look at a question like this, this is going to be a situation where the market is going to be defined as the middle value of replacement cost, the estimated selling price per unit minus the cost of completion, disposal. And then over here, the estimated selling price per unit minus the cost to complete minus a normal profit margin. So we're going to have to go through and compute 3 different values. And then once we do that, we'll have to compare it to our unit cost. And then, or actually, we're going to look at these 3. We're going to compare. So let's just go through and do it. So we're going to have replacement cost. Okay, so we're going to have our net realizable value. What is net realizable value? Okay, so what this is going to be is we have estimated selling price per unit. We have cost to complete and dispose per unit. So our net realizable value is going to be AA, BB, AA minus BB equals CC. The net realizable value minus a normal profit margin, we'll call this DD. So CC minus DD equals EE, which is NRV minus a normal profit. And these are here. So the middle of FF, CC, and EE is market. We would then compare this to our cost. And then that would be the, whichever is lower is what we would be going through and then reporting at the lower of cost or market. So replacement costs, we'll go through and write out each of these items. So my item Okay, so my estimated selling price per unit is 1050, 940, 720, 630, 670. My cost to complete are $1.50, 90 cents, $1.15, 80 cents, and then 70 cents. So my net realizable value is going to be this AA minus BB. This will give me my net realizable value. My net realizable value minus my normal profit margin. Okay. So now what I need to do is I need to go through and determine what my market is. And when I go through and I determine my market, it is going to be the middle value of these 3 items that are right here. Okay, so my market here, the middle value is going to be $8.40. And so that's going to be the replacement cost. The next one here for market, my middle value is also going to be the replacement cost, or $7.90. Again, because $7.90 is between these three values. Over here, my market is going to be the $5.45, because that is the middle value of the replacement cost, net realizable value, and net realizable value minus the normal profit margin. Here, my middle value is going to be $4.20, or my replacement cost per unit. And then lastly, my middle value is going to be the net realizable value for this one, or $6. So my first step when I'm given a question like this is I need to determine what is market. Then when I go through, now that I'm saying that this is market, now I need to say LCM, which is going to be market lower of GG, and then we'll call this JJ. Okay, so the lower of cost or market, and we'll use yet another color for this one here. Go ahead and use orange. So the lower of cost or market is going to be the cost of $7.50. So this one's the big winner. Okay, the lower of cost or market is going to be market, or $7.90. The lower of cost here is also going to be market, or this green value right over here. And then my lower of cost or market is actually going to be $3.80, which will be the orange value. Okay. And then down here, the lower of cost or market is going to be the $6 here. Okay. So the lower of cost or market using an individual item approach is I'm going to take the quantity and I'm going to multiply this through for each of these items here. So my total ending inventory, my total inventory value is going to be $32,220, and that's going to be part A. So my part A answer is going to be $32,220. So again, when we're going through and doing this, what we need to go through and do is we're basically comparing, this is what we had on our books, this is the lower of cost or market. How do you define a market? Market is the middle value of replacement cost, net realizable value. What is net realizable value? It is the estimated selling price per unit less the cost to complete. And then net realizable value, which is the net realizable value minus a normal profit margin. So that's what we went through and did. So the lower of cost or market using the individual item approach is going to be yeah. So we've calculated, okay, so the next thing we're going to go through and do here is we're now going to say, okay, what is the value of these items over here? So my inventory cost in terms of what was on my books is what was on my books was $33,170. So the adjustment that I would need is going to be $950. So I have two options here, and in terms of going through and recording this, is that you can do cost of goods sold and credit inventory, or we would just be crediting the allowance to reduce inventory to market. Or I can go through and do loss due to inventory obsolescence. And this is also sometimes referred to a market decline in inventory. And then this would also be the same thing here, be basically allowance to reduce inventory to market value. And when you choose one of these, really depends upon, are you distorting cost of goods sold? And this was something I actually asked you on the very first exam, or if I didn't, I should have asked you, which was materiality. How material is it to the cost of goods sold? And so that's really what I was going through and looking for. But this is how you would go through and record it. Okay. And then the memo, I'm going to pass on that memo. And then that's pretty much what I have for you today on problem 9-5. I'll see you on the next video. Have a great one.